As you go through the website and as you take on these kind of new and exciting concepts of how to play the game better and how to move better, there's one really important and impactful concept of motor learning that you do well to at least pay attention to and to adhere to where possible. And that is the understanding that where we place our attention has a huge impact on our coordination and our ability to hit a ball. And it comes from the work of Professor Gabrielle Wolf. Now, when Gabrielle was a young researcher, she was learning to windsurf, and I think she had like a sort of 2-hour lesson windsurfing, and for the first hour and a half she's getting all these instructions of where to position her body, her elbows, her balance points, etc., and she just keeps kind of falling in time and time again, which you can imagine learning to windsurf is exhausting and frustrating. So completely kind of bereft and frustrated, she thought, what can I do just to kind of get a run going and kind of enjoy this process a bit more. And she took her focus away from anything she's doing with her body and just focused on trying to position the sail in a way that catches the wind and gets a ride. And in doing so, leaving all the kind of control of her body positions, etc., just down to her sort of natural coordination system. And sure enough, the moment she did that, she catches the wind, keeps her balance, and gets her first run. I think she just has enough time to try that 2 or 3 times, and each time she catches the wind, stays balanced, and she's away. She's windsurfing. Now you can imagine, as a young researcher in motor learning, that's a bit of an epiphany, and it's one that then informed her career and lots of other researchers' careers from there on. And it's a huge field in motor learning and motor control, one that is used for any kind of movement learning, so lots of sport, dance, rehab, people learning to move again, to walk again, stroke rehabilitation, etc. It's a big concept. So here's how it works. She spent the rest of her career splitting attentional focus, so where we position our attention, into 2 camps. You are either focusing externally or internally. Now, an internal thought is one where we're trying to position her body. So back to her windsurfing experience, she's thinking about her balance, her arms, her elbows, and you'd be familiar with that concept. Learning to play golf, and you'll know from learning to play golf that when we really kind of overthink our body positions, our coordination pretty much goes out the window. So if you're really kind of heavily thinking about your knees, your pelvis, your arms, etc., your ability to deliver the club head to the ball is greatly reduced. Whereas an external focus is the effect of our movement. So in Gabby's case, it was the sail, and she's focusing on the sail and leaving the coordination of her body down to her natural, the natural processes. So her body is self-organizing the movement, is the phrase. Now in golf, we know that an external focus, a true external focus, is the ball flight, but there's just not enough information there to really kind of inform our movement. So a external focus used really well in golf is when we focus on the motion of the club head and the club face. So throughout the website, you will see there's a lot of coaching based on circle drills, which is all around how we control the motion of the club. There's club face drills. A lot of the short game is based on the scuff in the ground that we're trying to create, which leaves the coordination of the body again down to us to self-organize. So the research shows that when our focus is external, we learn better, we learn faster, we retain the information, retain the skills, a lot better, and it's far better under pressure. Given that most people under pressure try and over-control their movement and they over-control their coordination system, and it becomes stiff and awkward and clunky with way too much going on in your mind. Whereas if you can keep your focus external and trust that your body is going to be able to self-organize and coordinate the movement, then you have far less going on and you are much more closely linked to the task. Me thinking about how I want to deliver the club head is far more linked to the task of hitting the ball onto the green than it would be if I was focusing on knees, knee positions and arms, etc. Now, of course, like any good theory, we would, I think that is generally, I would suggest this is a brilliant concept, but I would try and hold it fairly lightly. So what I mean by that is, I wouldn't be in the camp of coaches who only ever coach with an external focus. I think that's missing out a whole lot. But we do need to know how an external focus and an internal focus affects our ability to hit the ball. So, for example, if you are working heavily on your posture at the beginning, or maybe keeping your pelvis back in the swing, that may not initially give you the very best ball striking. So what does that mean? Does that mean you're doing it wrong? Not necessarily. Does it mean it's a bad idea to focus on it? Definitely not. But you need to take a more of a long-term view in that situation. And if I had a student in the studio and we were working on such a concept, I would then make sure before we leave that we bring the student's attention back to external, and in which case immediately recover the ball strike. So don't take a deeply kind of complicated and heavily internal concept to the course and expect to strike the ball well. That's highly unlikely to happen. There'll be too much clunky thinking, and it'll be highly frustrating. External focus would be the preference, but equally there are times clearly when an external focus isn't going to help us help us learn movement sequence and postural control, etc. And get some of the real kind of finer points of learning this fantastic movement that is the golf swing. So, as I say, hold it lightly, but know that if your goal is to strike the ball the best you can or chip the ball the best you can, you want an external focus. And if you really want to get involved and make a long-term improvement to your movement from an internal perspective, know that that's likely to interfere with your striking temporarily, and you just need to know how to manage that. If you've enjoyed this video, then please click subscribe and I'll keep you up to date with more coaching information. And if you really want to take your game to the next level, then please visit my website, golfcoach.online, where you'll see there my subscription channel, which is Golf Coach Access, which is all about building a golf coaching and education community and having really structured long-term programs. And the best thing is you can get immediate free access.